Definition of the Trinity. If you write anything down tonight, here is the definition of the Trinity. If you write anything down tonight, write this down.
Okay, it's only a 3-minute video, so let's all watch patiently. Let's see what we think. Let's see what we do, and yeah. Boozer Omen, Christian today, Muslim yesterday. You are no proper follower of anything. Well, thank you for supporting this conversation, and I guess I'm not a follower of anything because I'm an investigator. I do plan on coming to a conclusion, though. I definitely don't plan. I've realized I think it would be better to pick a philosophy of life and stick with it, even if it ends up being wrong. I think for your well-being, it would be better. Now, if you're wrong, then, I mean, only God will judge, so who knows. But I think the worst thing you could do is not pick anything and just be like a floating, pure consciousness, because then, you know what. So let's see what we think about this video, and here we go. Sent from my Christian friend, how to explain the Trinity. Ozzy, I love you, brother.
God is one in being and three in person. One in being and three in person. Now, that is not a contradiction. See, if I said he's one in being and three in being, that's a contradiction. And I'm arguing with myself. If being not a contradiction. See, if I said he's one in being and three in being, that's a contradiction. And I'm arguing with myself. If I say he's one in person and three in person, that's a contradiction. God is one in being and three in person. So the next obvious.
One in being. Wait, I'm gonna write down the argument here so we can get the ideas clearly stated.
And I'm arguing with myself. If I say he's one in person and three in person, that's a contradiction. God is one in being and three in person. So the next obvious question is, NABEEL, what's the difference between a being and a person? Glad you asked. Thank you. A being is that quality that makes you what you are, or makes a thing what it is. So being is whatness. And a person is that which makes you who you are. So for example, I am a human being. That's what I am.
Right, I'm going to write down his definition.
A being is that quality that makes you what you are, or makes a thing what it is. So being is whatness. And a person is that which makes you who you are. So for example, I am a human being. That's what I am, in case you were confused. I'm a human being. Who I am is not a human being. Who I am is NABEEL Qureshi. What I am is a human being. Who I am is NABEEL Qureshi. What I am is heart, lungs, it's muscles, it's eyes, it's all this, tendons, bones, etc. That's what I am, but that's not who I am. Who I am is a kind, loving, caring, compassionate person. As my wife would tell you immediately. Who I am is very different from what I am. Humans happen to be one being and one person. That's what humans are. One being, one person. God is different. God is one being. Yahweh is what we call God. But he's three persons. Father, Son, and Spirit. Those three persons are equal because they're all God. They've all existed from the beginning, like John chapter 1 says, because they're all God. So then the question comes up, well, how can Jesus say something like the Father is greater than I if they're all God? And the answer is actually quite simple. Let's say I pointed to the President of the United States. Let's say I said Obama. I can very accurately say Obama is greater than I am. Because when he goes somewhere, he rolls with the posse. He's the most powerful man in the world. There's news conferences when he sneezes. I mean, he's greater than I am. But is he any more human than I am? No. He's not. He's greater than me in terms of role, but he's not greater than me in terms of essence. In the same way, the Father is greater than the Son in terms of role. The Father is superior. The Son is subjected to the Father in terms of role. And we see that in 1 Corinthians 15. It says that Jesus is going to subject himself to the authority of the Father so the Father can be all in all. It's because the Father is...
Yo, chat, chill out for a sec. I know you guys are going to be like, nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Just try and understand it, okay? Because I'm trying. I'm trying right now. So try with me. Doesn't mean believe it. It just means like, or maybe it does mean to try to believe it for a sec. And maybe that's blasphemy to even tell you to try to believe it. I don't freaking know, but this is good. Either way, this is a good, this is what Christians believe. So it's a good way to, yeah, let's figure it out.
The Father is superior. The Son is subjected to the Father in terms of role. And we see that in 1 Corinthians 15. It says that Jesus is going to subject himself to the authority of the Father so the Father can be all in all. It's because the Father is superior in terms of role. But is he any more God than Jesus is? No, because they're both God. There's only one God, and they're equal in essence, Father, Son, and Spirit.
That's blasphemy. And of course, chat, you guys are going to mostly agree with that. But I'm not saying that to appease you. I'm saying that because now I've become aware that that does not make sense. The only way for that to make sense is to basically say, I am not God, therefore I don't understand God, therefore this is possible, therefore maybe it is possible, therefore I believe it. But there's that has got to be the definition of polytheism.
Of God. It's because the Father is superior in terms of role, but...
Okay, that doesn't make sense. Why would Jesus pray to God if he is God? Why would he teach his disciples to pray, Our Father, who art in heaven? Now, of course, there's going to be letters written later that turned him into a god, but that's what happens to everyone. Booz Oni. Dude is not trying to find anything. All this dude is trying to find is how to be the next David QURESH. I don't understand. You're sending a donation. You're supporting this, but then you're roasting the shit out of me. So what does that mean? I don't understand. I mean, thank you for supporting these conversations, but I don't even know who David QURESH is. I think he's like a antichrist religious dude. I don't know. You know what I realized the other day, guys? So listen to this. I have this painting of John Lennon. You know John Lennon, the Beatles guy? I have this painting of him. Actually, it's my parents' painting, and they didn't really using it, so I started. It's like in my room back home at my parents' house. And so John Lennon was a singer of the Beatles, like the most famous band of all time. A lot of people love him because he brought people together. Come together right now over me. And anyways, I have this painting of John Lennon, and I was thinking yesterday, I was reflecting, as I always do, as I'm always analyzing every single situation. And I was analyzing the fact that I have a painting of John Lennon. And you know what? If I have a painting of John Lennon, he starts to be idolized. A painting of someone is an idol. Really. So it might actually be blasphemy to even put a picture of someone's face up, if you really think about it. Because over time, the further away you get from his life, the better the stories get. The reality starts to shift a little bit because it becomes more magical. It's kind of like a fishing story. If you go out and you catch a bunch of fish, you come back, how was it? Like, the fish was big. You never downplay it, you always overplay it. So if you take that, it's like the game of telephone. What is the one thing we learned in preschool? At least in America, what is the one thing we learned in preschool? we were taught to have guns and shoot everyone. No, I'm just kidding. The one thing we learned in preschool is the telephone game. We played this game in America growing up where you'd sit in a circle, and all the kids would sit in a circle, and the teacher or whoever would start the game would write down a message on a piece of paper, and she would write down, the submarine jumps over the donkey. The submarine jumps over the donkey. The submarine jumps over the donkey. So she writes it down. She picks the term. And all the kids are sitting in a circle. They're all waiting, eating their goldfish, making sure they're getting their diabetes, Doritos, maybe some Diet Cokes. That way we're all infused with this, nutrition. And the submarine jumps over the donkey. I think that's what I said. See, it's already hard to remember because what happens is she thinks of it. She says it to the next person. And they only can say it once. And your goal is to transmit the message. Your goal is to transmit the message perfectly. So you hear it once, but inevitably, nobody else can hear it, so you have to whisper it. Inevitably, the whispers, someone gets it wrong somewhere. Nobody knows who got it wrong because it's being told. Then, it gets to the end, and they'll be like, the submarine was a donkey. The submarine was a donkey. And then everyone starts laughing because they're like, where did the message change? But the people at the end are like, well, that's what I heard. And it's this big game of telephone. So what I'm saying is that could happen to anything, right? You could make this point to prove anything wrong or right. So I'm not saying I crack the code because there is no code to crack. At the end of the day, you need to just come to your belief on your own, on your knees to God, outside in the sun. No matter what verse says what, you have to come to your own conclusions because God gave you your own brain. But that being said, can't that happen with such as John Lennon? I have this painting of him. And I'll tell my kids one day, oh yeah, John Lennon, we listened to his music, he was a great song. I've even learned about John Lennon, not from my life. I wasn't even alive during his life. I know things of him. I know all great things of him because I've been told. I see a painting of him. If that continues on for hundreds of years, can't you see how someone would start to be idolized more than they are and almost seen as a divine creator? Again, you have to decide for yourself. Now, this is what the video says. The video says that one being is the whatness, and the three persons are who. A being is what you are, but the person is who you are. So what he's saying, the argument that he's making is that, you're a human, you have hands, you have lungs, you have heart, you have many moving parts. You have many things, but you're one. Kind of like a car. You have 4 wheels. How many wheels do you have in a car? 4. How many engines? Well, you only have 1, but how many nuts and bolts? A lot. A million factors. But is it one car? Yes, it's one car. So that's the example to prove, quote unquote, that Jesus could be, or God could be 3 beings but one. But isn't that what polytheism is? The belief or worship of more than one God. How did I just realize this? I mean, is that not polytheism? Okay, Tex is in the chat. I know he's a Christian. Tex, do you honestly understand the Trinity? Because I thought I understood the Trinity, and now I'm just realizing that don't make no sense. Reconcile. Good morning, Grayson. I extend the invitation to dial, argue on the subject from a slightly different perspective. Reconcile. Thank you for supporting these conversations. And trust me, I do intend on, I would love to chat with you. That being said, I've chatted with way too many people recently, or not way too many, but I am taking a break from discussing anything online with anyone for probably the rest of this week. So I can take time to create my arguments. That way I can absolutely destroy and end your career when we go online. No, I'm just kidding. I would whenever we talk, I just want to hear your point of view, and I just want to meet you virtually, and I would love to hear you explain and discuss this subject. Because I'm a human, you're a human, and we're both trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong. So I know chat right now, you guys don't have an opportunity, even if you're Christian, to really... Kurt said, I heard it like this. 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. I mean, that is true. But explain to me why Jesus would pray to God. I mean, he said in the video that because God has another role, because God has a different role, or the Father has a different role. Bruh. What is the biggest warning of the Old Testament? The Old Testament contains numerous warnings, but one of the most significant recurring themes is the warning against idolatry. ChatGPT said it, not me. But I did say it too. Idolatry in the context of the Old Testament refers to worshiping gods other than the one true God, Yahweh, and often involves the worship of man-made images or representations. This theme is pervasive throughout the Old Testament, especially in the books of the Law and Prophets. The warning against idolatry is crucial because it represents a fundamental breach of the relationship between God and his people, Israel. It contradicts the first commandment given to Moses on Mount Sinai: you shall have no other gods before me. Idolatry not only leads to other people away from their covenant with God, but also brings about moral decay and opens the door to various social injustices. Has this not happened? Has this not happened? What does Christianity stand for? What does Christianity stand for today? I think the only principle it really sticks by is the idea of love, kindness, and accepting. It stands for being accepting, because Christians tend to be very accepting. But that's what happens when you stray away from God. You begin to get a little confused on issues, and you begin more accepting. And if you stand for everything, you stand for nothing.